This is our last video on our series about the most controversial works of art of all times. I have already done 3 previous videos on this matter. If you haven't watched them, go watch them and come back. If you have, let's move on. Hi! This is Amanda Pontes again on artforall.tips, and this is our 4th and final video on some of the most controversial works of art of all times. We are going to begin with Thomas Eakins' The Gross Clinic from 1875. This is one of the most important and iconic American masterpieces of all time, and it was commissioned for an exhibition as part of a celebration for the 100 years of American independence. Thomas Eakins wanted to portray his artistic talents as well as the scientific achievements of the Jefferson Medical Center in Philadelphia. This realistic painting puts the spectator in the center of a surgical amphitheater, amongst which Dr. Samuel Gross, therefore the name Gross Clinic, amongst which Samuel Gross is teaching and instructing his students while he's performing surgery in one of his patients. So as the surgery is going on, he is also teaching and instructing his students. This painting is magnificent. It is so realistic. It is so well done. It is so perfect that it was once again rejected precisely because it was so realistic, that it was considered offensive, it was considered gruesome, it was considered a bit too realistic, it was considered kind of disgusting as well, and therefore it wasn't shown back then. Some people argue that one of the main reasons why it was rejected is because of the doctor's bloody hands, or maybe because of the lady in the background covering her eyes because she's shocked and disgusted with the surgery as it is being performed by Dr. Gross, or maybe just because of the way the surgery itself is so realistically portrayed. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it was back then rejected and it never saw the light of day. 100 years later, it was recognized as not only an artistic masterpiece, but a scientific one as well, and one of the best representations of medicine and science ever made. And it is impossible nowadays to think of the history of North American art without thinking of the Gross Clinic. Such the achievement it is, both in the arts but also in the medical field as well. So realistic and precise it was. Another work, and one that I particularly like very much, was Yoko Ono's performance named Cut Piece. This one took place in 1964, therefore before she met a certain man under the name of John Lennon. Perhaps you've heard of him, right? And yes, nowadays many people associate Yoko with her late husband John, and many people, when they think of her, they think of her union with him, or maybe they think she was the evil woman who separated the Beatles. Anyway, she has a lot on her shoulders, and many people still think of her as in association with John and the Beatles, which personally I think is a bit unfair to her history as an artist, and to her legacy as well. She was an important artist way before she ever met John, and even throughout their many years of union, she continued an important artist on her own right. Therefore, this is one of her main performances, which can be seen here on YouTube. If you look for it, you may find it. I'm not sure you can see the entire performance, but there are pieces of it. And it is one that I believe to be very touching, very beautiful, and one that shows how deeply Yoko trusted her audience and how secure and safe she was in the exploration of her art. On this piece, Yoko, she was sat down on a chair and she was completely still, totally still and completely silent, as these spectators were given a pair of scissors in order for them to cut pieces of her clothes. And as the pair of scissors went from one pair of hands to another, from one spectator to another, Yoko just sat there completely still, not saying a word, just breathing and allowing herself to completely trust the spectators. She could put herself to danger. Can you imagine sitting still while you give people you've never met before scissors? in a way that perhaps they could cut you, they could hurt you, they could do whatever they wanted with your body, and just sitting there still and in complete silence, totally believing that you were safe and trusting others so deeply that you knew they wouldn't do you no harm, and allowing people to cut your clothes. How deeply committed to your art and how deeply confident in your own security in the hands of others must you be to allow yourself to be so deeply and completely vulnerable. This is a profoundly touching piece of art, I personally believe, but again, one that caused a lot of controversy in its times. And also, not only because of all the symbolic aspects of it, the vulnerability of women, the dangers that women face in their daily lives, how vulnerable women are in the hands of complete strangers that they just meet and throughout their everyday lives, but also because of the degree of danger that Yoko put herself into, the limits of physical danger that she was willing to stretch in order for her to make this piece of art come to life. Another one is the physical impossibility of death in the mind of someone living. I love this title. This one is by British artist Damien Hirst and from the year 1991. This is a very famous shark. You have probably seen this somewhere, okay? This piece contains a real shark kept in formal, which is used also to keep corpses of real people. And the shark was kept in formal in order to keep it preserved for as long as possible. The shark itself was caught in the Australian coast, and the shark itself costed Hirst £6,000 back then, and it has already been replaced due to decomposition, which has created some controversies around the authenticity and the originality of this piece. This piece was bought by Uber collector and the owner of the Saatchi Gallery in London, Charles Saatchi, by £12 million back then, 1991. There is even a book about this negotiation. The book is titled The 12 Million Shark. Since the shark has since then been replaced, as I said, there have been some controversy surrounding the authenticity and originality of this piece. But here says that it doesn't matter. What he's trying to say and do here has nothing to do with the shark itself. It doesn't matter whether this is the original shark, the first shark, the second shark, or, it doesn't matter how many sharks have been. What matters is the concept, the idea behind it, what he was trying to do, what he was trying to say, what he was trying to achieve, the message that he was trying to put out into the world, the philosophy behind it. If you have seen my video on Marcel Duchamp's The Fountain, you will remember that the first person to try to do such a thing and to achieve it was Marcel Duchamp himself with The Fountain, and that many artists up until this day are still working underneath Duchamp's shadows and are still trying to answer to the questions that Duchamp first asked. Hirst definitely is one of these artists. Yoko Ono herself is another one, such as Marina Abramovic, Ai Weiwei, Jeff Koons, and many others. But Hirst here was claiming to do exactly the same thing that Duchamp tried to do with his fountain. The object itself wasn't the most important thing, whether it was an original or not, whether the material, the tools were used, none of these things mattered. What mattered were the ideas, the philosophy, the principles, the mind of the artist, the concept behind it, the discussion that he was trying to instigate, he was trying to start, the spark that was about to start a fire. And this is what Damien Hirst says, his answer to those questioning the authenticity of his shark. Another problem that this work has also faced is the environmental issues around it. Since he has to eventually replace the sharks, a new shark has to be captured, killed, and put inside the formal to replace the previous one. I'm not sure exactly how many sharks have already been used, but it doesn't matter. As Hirst himself says, it doesn't matter. But there are many people who say that this work of art is aggressive to the environment and obviously not good for the sharks, and it is an unethical use of the environment. Yes, this is a good argument, one that can be taken into consideration. But again, this is not what Hirst is worried with, and this is not why this work of art became as important and relevant as it did. Well, I have spoken about, in this series, I have spoken about quite a few works of art from different eras, from different times in history, and by many different artists that have been some of the most controversial, scandalous, and maybe problematic, if you want to use that word, works of art of all time. If you're interested in the subject, I can later on do more videos on this matter. Let me know in the comment section so I can prepare some more videos to you. If you have any further questions or if you're interested in some more information, please let me know. If you like this series, click on the like button, please subscribe to the channel, and let's continue to have fun with art together. See you around. Bye!